baby's home. Cairo, Cairo is my baby's home. One bite Cairo night won't be long. Women in Cairo, they will treat you kind and sweet. Women in Cairo, they will treat you kind and sweet. Catch you riding and take you off your feet. Shoot you and knock you, teach you and cut you too. Shoot you and knock you, teach you and cut you too. They get through the graveyard, then for you. Women in Cairo send you down to your grave.
No, I wasn't muted. I was just not phantom powered. Amateur. Sorry about that. But I do hope that my two guitar microphones picked it up, what I said in the beginning, which was a great theme for today. We're going to be talking about our music preferences. How did that happen? Why I love blues and country and traditional music from overseas, where I've never been. I'm born in the Balkans, Eastern Europe. So what's the connection? Why? How? So I'll be talking very briefly about that. But I'd love to know about your own preferences. What kind of music, what styles do you love? And what do you think why it happened and how it happened? Just write briefly in the chat while I'm maybe playing this back up if you're not playing with me right away, or let's just do it a little bit later during the live stream. So let's see who we got here. Graham, great to see you again. And Patrick was first. I put it on the screen before, and welcome so much, everybody. It's going to be great. So, without further ado, there's actually something that I need to still say, because it's a sad news reached me about 30 minutes ago. A very, very good friend of mine, of ours, a friend of the blues scene, and maybe the father of the blues scene in former Yugoslavia, now Serbia, passed away yesterday. And he was a very significant figure in my musical career. I got my first chance to play on the radio in his show that he had, a blues hour, for ages in the late 70s, early 80s, and that's where everything started with the blues scene in the former Yugoslavia, and in Belgrade in particular. So two gentlemen from this picture are not with us anymore. The one to the left, Sven Zetterberg, he left us 5 years ago, one of my distinguished blues colleagues from Sweden, who also helped me a lot when I came here, when I moved from then Germany to Sweden, and to live here without knowing anybody. So he helped me out tremendously, recommended me to some festivals, blues associations, and that's how I got my thing started and getting going here in Sweden. And the gentleman in the middle, that's our dear Ljubomir Vučko, who passed away yesterday. And he was the initiator of the Blues Hour, an hourly radio program every week. And that's where he invited me to play together with another colleague of mine. And that's how I kind of understood that, okay, this is what I'm doing, this blues that I'm trying to play. Somebody thinks this is okay, so let's just do it. And in the same kind of period, we established a blues club in Belgrade on one of the university campuses, and that's how everything got started. But without this guy, without Vučko, nothing would have happened that way and that deeply. He was involved in everything. Later on, he was working with television productions. He helped us tremendously with everything we did within blues and music, and we hung out, as friends as well and all that. So thank you for everything, and rest in peace. And I'll see you up there together with all our good buddies once. Yeah. So today, let's start with the blues. Blues backup, something that Vučko loved so much, and let's dedicate this a backup session to him. Vučko, ovo je za tebe. Right. Blues backup done. So we will be using this same pattern for the song for today, the lick for today. It's going to be a song by Louisiana Red that's called Going Back Overseas. So since I've had problems last week when I was playing a song, Motherless Children, and I think it was when I played the version of Lucinda Williams for maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds or something. And then Facebook informed me that they muted that part of my live stream because of the copyright issues. Right. So whatever was released online and is somewhere in these databases, I'm not allowed to play it. So if you guys want to hear the song, I will definitely play just a little excerpt of it when I start talking about the song. But maybe you can just go online and search for it while I'm talking about our musical choices and styles that we love and all that. So maybe you can listen to it in the background and get the idea of what I'm going to be showing, because I'm going to be showing Louisiana Red playing slide in standard tuning and utilizing a wonderful combination of the backup and slide melodies in between the vocal lines. It's so significant to show how that was done, and actually it's not that technically difficult on the guitar, but what's difficult is the flow itself and the way he did it, right? After so many years of playing and all that. So yeah, but that's that. All right, so the theme for today. All right, I see some new people coming in. Milovan from Ohio, hello. Great to see you. And I'd love to hear your stories about how you chose your favorite music. If you're musicians, playing out there, or if you're music lovers, it doesn't matter. How did you get to love a certain musical style or form, and why? All right, another Ohioan from the States. Cincinnati, that's right. Milovan is from Cincinnati. But actually, Milovan is from my old home country, from our old home country, Yugoslavia. I believe you moved to the States in 1979, if I remember well. That's a long time. Abby, great to see you. Thanks for coming by. And please let us know, how did you choose blues? And why are you playing those early blues styles from the 20s, 30s? How did you get hooked on that? Who did it to you? What did you do it yourself, like I did? Right. All right, so I've got a little script here, not too complicated, but something that I'd like to talk about, and I wouldn't love to forget that. One of my retreaters, Jonas Linders, he wrote in our group on Facebook, the retreat group, when I asked this question, he said, I discovered Elvis Presley as 7 years old, and I just kind of loved the rock and roll immediately. Over the years, so he was, of course, looking for the roots of that music, how everything started. So we just got deeper and deeper into that. Something that's in common for everything about this style is the swinging, the swinging of the whole thing, how it's not linear, how it's syncopated. It's about rhythms and grooves. And he said also a little bit of blue tones. And of course, blues got a baby, and he named it rock and roll. That's what Muddy Waters said. And then I also have a statement by my friend Gil. Let me see if I can find that. It should be here on my computer. Gil. Well, anyway, he stated some artists that I actually never heard of, and he says that, well, that's his way of kind of choosing the style he loves. It's quite dependent on who's singing, who's performing, and how it was done. So my kind of speculation, I'm debating a little bit of that about this, is like how much of our musical choice, of the styles we love, is our own choice. If we look back in time, let's say 40, 50, 60 years ago, we didn't have internet. We didn't have this kind of access to absolutely everything online. You can look for, exciting music on Spotify, on Apple Music, on Deezer, on any of these, streaming platforms. You can just get and search for all kinds of musical styles, or just write down, you kind of surprise me and play something for me that I've never listened to before. And you'll be able to hear everything, which is somehow, maybe with my kind of 60 plus years old mind, thinking like, Jesus, if I would start to play an instrument today and wonder about, okay, what kind of music do I like? Who am I learning to play guitar from? Is my teacher maybe kind of influencing me a little bit, but then I have the access to absolutely everything on this whole wide world when it comes to music styles? How would I pick? I would maybe just go wild, loving everything and maybe playing a bits of everything, and then maybe not being a jack of all trades, but master of none really deeply, just kind of a little bit of everything. And that's one of the kind of speculations that I have. The other one is like, let's not divide, but let's concentrate maybe on people who play an instrument and people who are music listeners and lovers. Many of my early influences were when I was like, most of the people that I talked to referred to their teenage years as most significant in developing their music tastes, both musicians and music lovers. Then if we go back, we don't even have to go so long back when I was maybe young in like 1973, 4, 5. Let's go back to the 80s. Still analog era, nothing big that you can find outside the mainstream that's on the radio, television, things that you can find in your record store. Remember those? Where you just go in and just go and look for whatever there is, and maybe some of the records you can kind of test play a little bit, say, okay, I like this one. And trust me, record store owners hated me because I wanted to try all the blues records they've had once I got hooked on blues. And sometimes they just told me, like, look, man, you've got to buy something. It's nice that you love it, but you have to buy something as well, okay? Yeah, sorry. But anyway, so my kind of little debate here is sometimes we grow into liking a certain style by just listening to it a lot. Sometimes it can be influenced by friends who we meet and who maybe have a record collection of a certain music style, and then we kind of grow into listening to that in the good company, and we start connecting those vibes with those musical styles, and that's where we end up loving. So that can be one of the reasons. Let's see. Patrick says, nowadays all music with a feel, no matter genre. Yeah. Nowadays, of course, when we kind of grow older and when we kind of get this little distance to what we love and maybe we don't like too much, and with the more you listen to and the more you get exposed to, I think it gets like easier to kind of listen to all kinds of music. I'm personally mostly into blues, country, early traditional styles from the U.S. And then I kind of like very much the ethno music, especially from, of course, my old home country, Yugoslavia, where you had at least 5 or 6, maybe more, totally different grooves of music because of the size of the country. There were like 24 million people. And some of the parts of former Yugoslavia are so mixed with people of different origins, religions, and everything that even the music mixes fantastically. Milovan here, who's now in Ohio, but he grew up in old Yugoslavia. He can maybe correct me, but in our part of former Yugoslavia, which is northern Serbia, which used to be under Austrians, Hungarians, Turks, and then it became a part of Yugoslavia in 1918. During those hundreds of years before it became Yugoslavia, it was a mixture of people like, Serbs, Croats, Hungarians, Russians, Polish, Romanians, a lot of people, a lot of folk groups that mixed influences also when it comes to music. So when you listen to music from those parts, you can hear something that's really in common with, like nowadays, 7 or 8 countries around it, that we have a similar music grooves and rhythms and patterns and all that. So I like to listen to that. But then later on, I developed an interest in African music as well. So it's kind of I'm kind of getting broader and broader in my musical endeavors I want to listen to. But when it comes to playing what I want to play, I actually never wanted to play anything else but this blues and country that I've been doing for 45 years now. I started playing when I was 15. Now I'm 63, and I'm not thinking of quitting it any day because I just love doing it. All right, let's see. Patrick wrote, I grew up with the Dubliners, Dylan and Clapton, so started out with Irish and blues. Yeah, I know you're a great lover of Irish music. You're performing with your band, playing Irish music and of course some blues. Yeah. Abby says, I tried to, this is good. I tried to like pop music when I was about 12, but couldn't, and started looking through my parents' record collection and discovered the Beatles, which became my first obsession. Oh yeah, that was mine as well. Beatles, Simon and Garfunkel, Bob Dylan, Neil Young. That was the mainstream of, things you could find in record stores in former Yugoslavia. This is like 1972, 3 and on. And there was also this Yugoslavian rock music, which was quite good, really. Not like for the time, but it was really good. Well played, well executed, nice songs with a special touch. And I liked that, but I've never had this urge of learning how to play that. I could enjoy it listening to, but I couldn't I didn't, even when I wanted to start to play the guitar when I was like 15, and my father got me this first kind of classical guitar with nylon strings, and then I switched those to steel strings. And you know the story usually, with a very high string action and all the troubles you go through in the beginning. So even then, I didn't want to do anything of this, which was popular in Yugoslavian rock music. I wanted to learn how to play the Boxer with Simon and Garfunkel, Knocking on Heaven's Door, some Neil Young songs, and that's where I really started playing the guitar. I was even a fan of John Denver in the early days and all that. So it was like I was fooling around with the guitar and my musical tastes for like 4 or 5 years before I ended up in a band that was called... Now, hold on now, Parudashtri, a very crazy name, which is actually the first 2 letters of our surnames of everybody who was involved, like 4 guys singing in harmonies and playing like 3 guitars. And we had some great fun. And one of us was a great composer, and he wrote the songs and we kind of arranged them. But and that was really great to be a part of. But it still didn't really grab my heart. But then when I was like 19, 20 years old, a friend of ours was an exchange student. So he traveled to the States, and brought back with him after that summer a couple of records that he played for us. And one of them was John Lee Hooker. The other one was Sonny Brown and McGee. And when I heard Sonny Brown and McGee, it was like, damn, what is this? Because if you want to listen to kind of accessible and understandable blues, easy to grab, to get a grip on, then Sonny Brown and McGee are really the way to go, because of course they're deep as blues artists and they are fantastic musicians. But I mean, if I was listening to I don't know, John Lee Hooker, who I kind of admired his musicianship, but I never got the urge of wanting to learn how he played his licks on the guitar. But as soon as I heard Brown and McGee, it was like, I want to know how he does this on the guitar. So, I borrowed that record, I made a cassette tape copy of it, and I was listening to it. And at the time, I was studying in the capital of former Yugoslavia, where I had met some other people who liked blues, and all of a sudden, our network kind of got a little bit bigger. And we started kind of lending LPs to each other and listening, and like, oh, all right, I understand this is an E, but it's not really E. It's actually, the key is F. So I guess he's using that thing called capo. All right. So I bought me a capo and I tried to do that. And that's how everything started. And that was my first initial inspiration to learn to play blues on the guitar. I wasn't singing at all at the time, because the guy I was playing with, he was playing some good harmonica and he could also sing. So I was like, in the background, just playing the guitar and practicing like crazy. Then I went to do my military service, and that was also many coincidences in a row. Let's say, why did I choose? It was an unhappy relationship. My girlfriend left me, and I thought, okay, I need a break. I need to do something else. Okay, I'll join do my military service that I anyway had to do. Everybody had. So I thought, okay, I'll do that now. But why then? Because if I haven't done it then, I wouldn't be standing here today and talking to you guys. Because in the Army, I met two people who changed everything for me when it comes to guitar playing. One of them was our other friend who also lives in the States now. He's a famous psychiatrist, Sasha Strunjac, and he is an amazing guitar player. He went more onto the jazz side and styles. But at the time, when we were like 1981, we were like 21, 22 years old, and he was playing some fiery fingerpicking, which I finally kind of got a grip on. Oh, that's how it's done, right? So, and we were, playing together, not even practicing. We just played, had fun. And that was one of the things that happened to me. The second one was when another soldier colleague of ours, he just came with a cassette tape for me and said, look, guys, you're playing this kind of, country and blues and all that. So listen to this. You might like it. And that was Doc Watson live in concert from 1971, LP recorded onto a cassette tape. And, that was Deep River Blues, Browns Ferry Blues, I'm a Pilgrim, some Billy and the Low Ground, some instrumentals by Doc, flat picking, finger picking, everything was on that record, his harmonica playing. And I was totally hooked. And I had 6 months in the second part of your military service. Then you're not really doing anything significant every day. You have a couple of hours of duties, but the rest of the time is like a leisure. You can do whatever you want. So I was sitting down and playing the guitar and trying to get a grip of what Doc Watson was playing. And it was amazing. So that when I got back from the Army, I just went back to my harmonica player and I said to him, Peter Joe, I said, man, you got to listen to this. You got to hear me playing this stuff, right? And I thought I was good then, but I wasn't really. But it was a great start. I was inspired. And that's exactly 22 years old. And I was totally hooked on blues, country, early stuff, hillbilly, through Doc Watson and his version of Deep River Blues, I discovered Delmore Brothers, who we mentioned when he was announcing that he's going to be playing Deep River Blues. And he also mentioned Merle Travis, and I was like, who's Merle Travis now? Okay, so I found out about Merle Travis. So everything just kind of fell into place, and it was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And luckily, at the time, when I was like 22, and I was going back to university, trying to do my some educational stuff, right? And but I had plenty of time to play with my friends. So me and my harmonica player, we established a band together with a mandolin player, became the band called Blues Trio. And since nobody else was playing acoustic blues, we got loads of gigs. All the clubs wanted us live. We were playing on the radio. We were on the television so early because we were the only ones, right? I guess somebody wrote, it wasn't me saying that, it was a journalist who wrote that we were the first professional acoustic blues act in Eastern Europe in the early 80s, because, I don't know, I haven't met another guitar player apart from this guy Sasha in the army for several years after that, who was also playing acoustic blues. And it was like, whoa, that's what just set me right on this path of, I want to do this, and that's it. So then it took a couple of years before we really kind of became good or whatever, when we felt like, okay, now we have some dynamics when we're playing. We're not just pushing it. We understand more about this music now, but we really needed those couple of years. So that was basically my story about how I got into, loving the blues and country and early stuff. All right, so I've got some great answers here. So Abby started to listen to the Beatles and then followed their influences back to rock and roll and blues. Exactly. That's where I also listened both to Beatles, and then later on I listened to Rolling Stones. And on one of their records, they wrote on the back of the cover, that they were listening to Muddy Waters. And it was like, okay, who's Muddy Waters? And yeah. Now it's a kind of classical way how to get into those early music styles, but people who are maybe 20 something today, they don't understand that. For them, everything was accessible from the start. You just open up your smartphone and you got all the music in the world, right? Which is great. It's just fantastic nowadays. So Milan says, your first time in London in 1974 and you saw Brown and McGee Solitary, man, that's right. I remember you telling me about that years ago. Then I saw for the first time somebody playing slide guitar, Sam Mitchell, in a local pub. Oh man, I forgot that part of the story. And if it was in a local pub in London, then it must have been in Putney, because Sammy had a steady gig in Putney in one of the clubs that I'm not even sure that exists nowadays, but he told me about that club, and I even have some bootleg recordings from there. Hey, now, I could maybe play that in my live stream, because that's not released on any of the records. Nobody's got rights for that. That's a good idea. I'll write it down. So, Abby is writing, I think country blues is a genre that comes alive more when you learn how to play it, of course. You hear more and more in it, which gives you a different relationship to it than music that you only listen to. Exactly. Not to say that, people who only, quotation marks, only listen to music and musicians are different in, it's a different approach. It is. Sometimes it's a big problem for me to listen to music, because I know sometimes when I listen to, let's say, singer-songwriters who play acoustic guitars solo, and I'm listening to that sometimes too much as a guitar player myself. Early influences, let's say The Boxer with Simon Garfunkel, let's say, early Bob Dylan stuff. I can listen to that as a listener. I don't even think I do know that, let's say that one guitar is played in C standard tuning, and the other one is played with a capo on the 5th fret and a G, and I know exactly what they were playing, but I'm not analyzing and listening to that. But if I listen to, let's say, Ben Howard, an amazing, great singer-songwriter from the UK. I love his playing, singing, his groove. He's fantastic. I still listen to that as a guitar player. I'm amazed and I'm admiring his approach to making the grooves and deeper tunings and all that stuff. It's really great. Yeah. But sometimes I'm too much of a guitar player when I listen to music. Milovan says, Fats Domino is my early music hero. It's the local radio station in Serbia. That's right, that promoted his music. Years later, I visited his house in New Orleans, and I was lucky to see him in concert. Man, I've always said that. I wish I was born like you, like 10 years before. Then I would have maybe seen more live. Yeah, kind of 63 years old. I'm thinking I'm too young for this music that I was listening to. Abby said, I also didn't have any friends who liked the same music as me, so I couldn't form a band, and country blues is really satisfying to play on your own. Exactly. That's maybe why I also kind of ended up playing fingerpicking styles, because I really didn't have anybody to play with. So I was the only guitar player in the band, so I had to deal both with the basses and some chord backup and maybe some moderate solo. But when you have a mandolin player and a harmonica player, you don't get to play too much solos, do you? So it's like, okay, I'll let them do their thing, but I'll do the good groove. So that's where I learned my chops about good and solid backup, which I'm always emphasizing about how important it is to have the groove when you're playing stuff. Graham says, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, no TV, no record player. I was in the neighbor's house watching a black and white BBC jazz program, and they put on Muddy Waters. End of story. Man, that would have killed me as well. It was like what? Yeah. If somebody would play to me Muddy Waters plantation recordings when I was like 18, 19, I wouldn't be able to understand the depth of the songs, of the music. It's almost like it was saved for me for these later years in my life when I could really relate to it and understand the background story of Muddy and how he was discovered on his plantation, how Alan Lomax went down and recorded him. Just imagine if he didn't do that. Muddy would have never been discovered. He would never move to Chicago. We would maybe never have Chicago blues in the same form that we have today, because how Muddy was influenced to listen to early, Son House, Willie Brown. He was listening to everything that was before him at the time. That was amazing times. Absolutely. And he was listening to Son House live. He was buying Robert Johnson's records and listening to him when he was younger, because Muddy was born in 1915. So, when Robert Johnson released his records in 78 in 1938, 39, that's when Muddy was accessible for influence. Like, oh, I love this. I'd like to learn how to play this. So he played a couple of songs that were the same kinds of songs as Robert Johnson did, but he did it more influenced by Son House. Then if you just listen to Walking Blues by Muddy, that's actually called I'd Be Troubled. Or no, the Country Blues. It was called Country Blues on his first plantation recordings. Then he played more resemblant of Son House early styles than as he was listening to Robert Johnson. Yeah. Good. Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about this and your stories about how you found the music you loved. And I was actually talking to my wife this afternoon. I asked her how, because she's it's called in Swedish allätare, all eater when it comes to music, but she's got a very distinct kind of taste when it comes to both rocky stuff and some punk, some early UK based stuff from the 80s, because she's a bit younger than I am. So but she's got a very, very healthy musical taste, and we can really listen to the same music unless I start playing chronological recordings of Lonnie Johnson, like 24 songs, that for non-blues lovers, just it sounds like it's the same song, and it's not right. It's not right. Okay, now I'm muted. I had to cough. Sorry. So I think we'll just move on, and we'll move on to the song that I wanted to lick of the week, but actually it's a couple of licks, couple of slide melodies played in the style of Louisiana Red, and he was not the first one to do it. If you listen to early recordings of Abby, help me. I lost the name. Maxwell Street recordings, live blues, slide guitarist who also played in standard tuning. Not Robert Nighthawk. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I forgot. Sorry. But I'll play you this from the. Let's see. That's from music. That's right. So here we go. Going back overseas. So I'll jump over the intro and just play you a little bit of it. So let's see how that goes.
Leaving this country and going back overseas. 'Cause I'm telling you, blues singer have it hard, and nobody over here cares for me. Well, I'm telling you, people, Lord, I have a hard time. Well, tell you, people, I have a doggone hard time. Well, I got to struggle.
All right, I don't dare playing any more of this because if you listen to what he played just now, do 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 do, we are exactly here. So we're in E, right? So he was actually just playing the melody of the song. Leaving this country, going back overseas. And that's very significant to kind of use the slide as kind of a backup or emphasizing the melody of something that you've sang. This go back overseas. You see? It's here on the 5th fret on the 1st string, 4th, somewhere there. And then 2nd string on the 5th fret. And then what's most important here is we need to get that bass going still while we're playing slide. And sometimes he would just leave the bass for a second and go back to it just next second or something. So it's like a... If I try to sing the leaving in the morning, go back overseas. Leaving in the morning, go back overseas. Nobody here, I have it so hard. Nobody here care for me. So this turnaround is something that I'm quite often using in my blues backups, right? But he would kind of emphasize the melody by playing some slide rolls in between the vocal lines. And then when it comes to a solo to play the instrumental part of the song, he would just go back to the melody and played with the slide exactly the same thing as he was singing. So he would do a... And then he would go back to combining slide with his singing. And that was all. He didn't do anything more complicated in this song. More complicated, how much deeper can you get into this? So what's big in this whole way of playing this slow blues in E, which I'm so excited now, so I actually played it at least 30% faster than I should have. So I will explain every part of this in detail and very slowly now. But to play slide in standard tuning, where you don't really have those big chords as if you were playing in open tunings, it's a totally different game. In some aspects, it's easier. In some aspects, it's much, much harder. Some of you who were coming to my live streams before, you remember that I've played and explained how Muddy Waters played his signature intro in a standard tuning, which was... which is... so he's going to the 5th chord and then... You say you love me, baby, and so on. So that was Muddy's way to play slide in in standard tuning, and somewhere along the road, along the line, when he was playing the 50s and 60s and especially 70s and on, he quit playing open tunings. I think he has one recording of Walking Blues on one of the tours. It's on one of the LPs that I bought. Early 70s maybe, where he played in open A, either with electric guitar tuned into open A or with the capo from the open G tuning, and he played that famous version of Walking Blues. But basically he had 2 guitar players in his band, so he was mostly singing, playing some great backup guitar, and playing these intros and solos in standard tuning. Did he choose that because it was practical, or did he get tired of playing in open tunings and, carrying several guitars with him? In the later years, he just brought one Telecaster and that was it. He played that guitar for the whole evening. In some of the songs, he wouldn't even play much. But anyway, back to Louisiana Red. So the combination of the backup and the slide can be like this. Do, 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 oh, roses. Back up, and now. So this asks for a good coordination between the backup and the slide melody. So if you've never done this before, the best way to do this would just to be to practice on the melody on slide. Where are those notes? So the notes you need to know are this, which is a note E. And when you've learned how to pick it so that you don't accidentally pick the first string, because that way would be... Sometimes it's charming to have both the first and the second strings, ringing somewhere in the back. Yeah, I don't know. But it's like try to understand how this note can be played totally clean, and then you can play it sloppy if you wish, but then it's your choice. It's not because you can't. Then we go back to this rule of just because we can doesn't mean we should, but let's make nice choices here. So anyway, so it's if you practice this, dampen the first string by just placing your one of the fingers, depending on how you're picking. I'm just playing with my two fingers, index and middle. I'm barely and rarely using my ring finger. Pinky is just to have it on the guitar top, that's it. So I usually place my middle finger on the first string to dampen it. Then I place my index on the second string, ready to play. Then I dampen the fretting hand here, just placing lightly my index on the first two, sometimes even three strings, so you get those strings like a dampen. But then I place those two fingers here. Then I place the slide on the second string, and then I will pick the note on the second string and then glide from, let's say, 3rd to 5th fret. This is how you only hear that note. If I want to be really, really precise, I would even dampen this third string with my thumb here. Even with or without my thumb pick, same thing. If I have a thumb pick, it would be like... So that's your first exercise to learn how to reach that note. Then the rest of the melody is... So open second string, fretted on second fret, and then open first string, and you have this blue note. This is a major note, right? So, but if you come a little bit closer to the 3rd fret, and you get this. And then this is a beautiful exercise. It's easy to play when you get to learn to play these things separately. The first one is, of course, to play the... And then when you learn how to dampen with your wrist of your hand, of picking hand, then you get even... Since when we play slide, we cannot continue playing the riff itself, but we can still do the bass groove by playing 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Just get that going, and then this is very rarely recommended to be practiced at the same time, especially if you're a beginner. If you have played slide before, of course, by all means, just throw yourself into it and you'll get it. But if you're a beginner, then just try to do one thing at a time. This bass rolls, and then it will come naturally as soon as you're not playing a slide melody and you have given some nice life and vibrato to that note. Let's say... Right? I can go back as soon as I don't need that slided note kind of anymore. Or if I'm going to play another phrase, or if I'm going to sing something, that's how you decide on, okay, where does the slide melody end and the backup begins? Or where do I cut the backup in order to play something on slide? Let's say... I'm definitely complicated this too much. Just to show you what, possibilities there are, but it's definitely not my advice to play this in the same like two measures of doing this groove. It's like a choose wisely, and the less is more, especially in these kind of blues songs. And the theme of this song is really beautiful because he wrote that in the States when he traveled over, but he was already Louisiana Red moved to Hanover in Germany in I think late 80s, and no, in the mid 80s, because when we booked him to play in Yugoslavia in 1988 for the Blues and Jazz Festival in Belgrade, he was already living in Hanover, and we booked him through his German agency. That's right. So that maybe those were transition years, because he recorded this album called New York in the States, and it was, I think, released in 1985. And one of the songs is called Going Back Overseas, because they don't want me here in the States. So he felt better and had more success and recognition and respect in Europe. And he actually never moved back to the States. He did travel a couple of times. He did some tours, some recordings, and of course, but he was always quite sad that he never got this real recognition in the States. You know, in the land of origin, in the land where he was born, and it's always like that. You love to be respected somewhere where you have your roots. Yeah. So, but that was that. So, guys, absolutely amazing. I'm on the hour, 1 hour of live streaming, and I'm done. I've done everything I wanted to show you today. Now, a little bonus that I'm going to be just showing you a couple of things when it comes to blues backup, but with a bit of kind of jazzy blues chords. I've done this before in the live stream, but instead of asking one of my retreat students to look for it in the backlog of live streams, because I don't remember when I did it. So I'm going to show it to you right now. Let me just see in the chat. Oh, David, man, I'm sorry I couldn't watch your live stream today because I was in a meeting at my job. So yeah, the music chooses me always. I hear it and I'm hooked. That's great. No problem, man. I love to have you here. Thank you. Milovan wrote, I met our friend Sasha here in Cincinnati when he lived here. All right. Exactly. Yeah, this is also amazing. Milovan contacted me while he was already living in the States. He found me online somehow. And we've been friends ever since, but we never met in real life. But I mean, if we ever do it, it's going to be like we've never partied and we've always knew each other, because we share the love for the same music, for our origins, home country and everything. And yeah. And Milovan is a wonderful guitar player. He plays wonderful fingerstyle guitar and some fine slide. He's great. And I love his band as well. So that's great. And Sasha, I don't know where he lives now. He used to live in Cincinnati, that I know, but he's still in the States, right? But I don't know where he lives exactly. So what was my idea? Mats Nelfelt is one of my students, participants of my guitar retreat. And he asked me, hey, could you do something with like a bit jazzier chords? Because I've showed him a couple of things, but that wasn't really planned to be done during the retreat. And I said, okay, I'll try to do something. I said, well, okay, today in the live stream, here we go. What's a jazzy backup in blues? Basically, it's when you're using more than just major or minor chords. Right? And when we talk about, let's say, the chord B, this is the B7. But if you want to play a B7-9, then it sounds like this. That's something else. So if we go into the turnaround, instead of if we do so this can be combined with a shuffle backup and all that. So the chords I've played here are actually, if we just go to the root of it, it's E, then C sharp 7, then F sharp 7, then B7, and E. When you kind of jazz it up, then you get to. So I use the big basses. Remember how I always recommend that you don't only play the root notes of the chord, but try to utilize more basses. This is something that piano players are masters of, because they have this, left hand runs that those who are really good are masters of this. So either playing just plain 7 chords like E, D7, C sharp 7, or to play those chords in the 7/9 form, which is grabbed like this. It's, let's say, 5th string on the 5th fret, 4th string on the 4th fret, and then all 3 remaining strings are pressed down with the middle finger here. This is the clean kind of D7/9, but then if you add this big bass up here, that sounds nice. This is a lower 5th. It's kind of, so we're playing the note of A in the D chord. So if you do that together after E, and then you have this chord, which is the same as G, but in this form, this is G7, right? So to kind of explain it in maybe easier terms, it's like, imagine D7 chord, but not on the first 3 strings, just move it all the way up to the 3rd fret here, and then you add the pinky on the 3rd string on the 4th fret, and that's your G7. But the G7 is also this. But this kind of sounds kind of clean. It's just a 7th. But if you concentrate on these basses, that's where the beauty of this backup comes. Because, and then to F sharp 7. What's good about this is that we are kind of forgetting the treble strings. Because when we add them later on, it's going to be more dynamic. It's going to be more beautiful when we get to, play the rest of the groove. So if I demonstrate, I go from E, then D7, C sharp 7, and then I play the G7, and then move that to F sharp 7, and then back to C 7/9, and then B7/9, and then back to E. If I play it all together, oh, sorry. You see how these treble strings open up when you finish. The other way to play this, and what's great about this lick, this kind of groove with the chords, is that the bass line is this. And now if I don't play the treble strings, but only concentrate on 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th string, 6, 5, 4, 3. I'm always counting the other way around. So. And so on. So one more time. So that's that kind of jazzy part of blues backup. But actually, this was used in a lot of swing songs. Like you have this. In, let's say, G, it's the same chord progression, but just moved everything 3 frets up, and it sounds kind of a little bit fresher, a bit brighter, because, you know, the register is higher. It's almost, when you move on the piano from the, you know, first like 3 octaves up to another octave on the keyboard. So. And the same thing in E. And so on and so on. I could, you know, talk about this for a long time, but I think we'll leave it here for today. And now, the next week, next Monday, I'm going to be in Germany visiting my dear friend Kosho, Michael Koszorek, who is a great guitar player, wonderful person, a friend of mine that I also only met online. But now, since we live so close, he's in Berlin, I'll visit him next Monday. So I'm not promising. If there's a way to live stream from his home while we're maybe jamming or something, we might do that, but I'm not promising. If you don't hear any, you know, announcement for the live stream, that's because we're actually not going to do it. But if we do it by surprise and just like shock everybody by going online live, you'll get notified. Those of you who are subscribed to my channel, I have the notifications on. You will get the notification in your smartphones anyway. So I don't know, but I'm not promising anything. Great. All right, guys. Thank you so much for this Monday. Thank you for your input when it comes to your music influences and why you like the styles that you like to listen to or play. And let's go to the outro song. I'm sitting on top of the world. It's nice, but I'm still sad, and I'll be going through some old photos of my dear friend Vuchko, who unfortunately left us yesterday. I mentioned him in the beginning of the live stream. Yeah, one of my dearest friends within the blues scene in old Yugoslavia. So it's to him and to all of you guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
And it was in spring, one sunny day, my sweetheart left me, now she went away. Now she's gone, and I don't worry, but I'm sitting on top of the world. It called me up, down and out by soul. Said, come back, Daddy, Lord, I need you so. Now she's gone, and I don't worry, 'cause I'm sitting on top of the world. peaches. Don't you shake my tree. Get out of my orchard. Let my peaches be. Now she's gone. I don't worry. But I'm sitting on top of the world. Spring, one sunny day, my sweetheart left me. Now she went away. Now she's gone. I don't worry. But I'm sitting on top of the world. Now she's gone.